This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 57 of the Wisdom by WESA show on the Horse Radio Network. This is Mike Donnell.
I'm Casey Wilbanks-Coletti.
And this is Sophia Gela. Welcome to Wisdom by WESA on the Horse Radio Network.
This podcast is brought to you by the Western and English Sales Association, WESA, which provides the world's largest trade events for retailers, manufacturers, and sales representatives of the equestrian industry. In this podcast, we feature exclusive interviews with noteworthy Western and English personalities, retailers, and exhibitors who you've always wanted to talk to. Don't miss out on all the news for manufacturers and retailers in the equine industry.
Today is our episode closest to Thanksgiving, so I just wanted to take a minute and thank all of you for either listening to the podcast, producing the podcast, and of course for asking the right interview questions to really keep the Wisdom by WESA show going. And we all know that this year has been a difficult one for many people, but we hope that Wisdom by WESA has helped to sort of keep in contact or maybe even learn something new. And as part of WESA, and of course on behalf of WESA, I can just say that we're all so thankful for the community that we have, including the podcast crew, the WESA members and retailers, and of course, just everybody, the friends of the association. And yes, so thanks again to everyone. We already made some plans for interviews in the upcoming year, and we cannot wait. And also, if any of our listeners would like to give back to the Western community during this Thanksgiving season, I'd like to remind them that they can do so through West Trust. Again, they're not affiliated with WESA. I just wanted to give a quick shout out, and there's more info on the West Trust Facebook page, which you can find at West Trust Fund. And yes, thank you, everyone.
Some people might not think of New York as the home of a highly successful Western fashion company, but then they probably don't know about vintage collection design. Women throughout the country, from big cities to small towns, are wearing the firm's embroidered clothes because they like the colorful yet Western feel. Stacy Collins joins us today to tell this unique story. Stacy Collins, thank you very much for joining us on the Wisdom by WESA show.
I am very privileged to be doing this. Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you here. You've got a very interesting company. I put in the introduction that we did a little bit that most people, unless they're really in the industry, don't think of New York as the home of a highly successful Western fashion business, but in fact it is. I think maybe what we should do is first have you give us a bit of background about the company.
Okay. The company, it's called Vintage Collection, and we have a great web called VintageCollectionDesign.com where everyone can go and look at the pieces we do. We started the company 11 years ago. It's an offshoot of an older fashion company on 7th Avenue where we did embroidery and beading on gowns. And the company was owned by two very old men. They changed hands many times, and we wheedled it down to us four women creating embroidered clothing that the Western genre picked up and absolutely fell in love with. And it is, an honor for me to be selling this type of clothing to incredible, warm, Americana kind of people. It really does something to my New York blood, which you think is so different than out in the West. It is, we embroider everything we do. We started small. We never knew how it would take off because we had showrooms in Atlanta, in California, in Dallas, and in New York. And it seemed like in Dallas and in Denver, the people loved them. The girls wear these pieces. We call them tunics, mostly. They're all embroidered. They rock it with a cowboy boot. If they're young, they throw it on like a little short dress with a bootie. And if you're older, you wear it with a legging. But the colors that we embroider is what touch the hearts of the Western world. They're beautiful florals. and bright colors of the earth and the sun setting and the trees and everything that you think of America. I think it showed up in the colors that we embroider. And it touched people's hearts. They're also romantic looking. They sort of have a rock element to it. When you want to get older, and you do, and you're lucky enough to get older, you want to wear something that has a little more edge to it. So it makes an older woman feel really cool and edgy. And a younger person, I just think flirty and fabulous. And definitely the clothing causes an attitude when you put it on. I've heard that time and time again when people buy our clothing. They say they walked into a party and they walked out and people ran after them and said, "Where did you get that?" And I love hearing it all the time.
I believe that. And speaking of the embroidery, this is done on a machine by a person. This is not computerized.
Right. It's what makes us stand out from all the other companies that are out there. We make something, actually it's called a kaka. It's an outline of a garment. And then our designer has applied through painting on pictures the most beautiful embroidery. And then we look at charts of colors and we pick the colors we want in the embroidery, and it's given off to a factory in India. And they interpret that, and they send us a sample. And when we get it from the picture to the sample, it's truly like looking at a piece of art, because that one piece was done by one person. So when they're embroidering it, the patina inside a floral can have 5 or 6 or 7 colors. Every time they do a color on it, they have to change the thread and needle. That takes a lot of work. In a computer, I don't have to tell you, we cannot live without them, but something like this is done by hand. And a computer, you press a button, but here, someone put their heart into making it.
Sure.
And you can really see the difference. There's a little coldness about computerized embroidery. It's flatter, even though it's beautiful. There's something very special about something that's done by one person. It's what we pride ourselves in this company on. And I think it's what makes us stand out and be successful in what we're doing. And I know the Western genre truly appreciates it.
Well, and it makes each piece very special. And you gave great description of your products just a few minutes ago. And I kind of wanted to add what I see with my eye. I see feminine, I see classy, I see rich, sophisticated, and I really love the way they look and complement concho belts, especially those with red stones or turquoise stones. It's just the perfect mix with a Western concho belt.
Thank you. You know, we look at the colors of the stones in the Western world, and if you see, I would say at least 75 to 80% of our embroidery has the corals and the turks in it, and actually the colors of the earth. A lot of it is mixed together. But we use a lot of different accessories and jewelry to show it off. We just did a great photo shoot. It's on our web. It's for spring 2021. And we use Paige Wallace's jewelry. And I know she's very well known in the Western world.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you know, coral necklaces, you said it, with silver. And it's just, I mean, the West really picks up this attitude in dressing that you don't see anywhere else. And femininity is a key. We also, I'm going to do something that a lot of people don't do. We make skirts. So we'll make a skirt with mesh and layers underneath it. So when you're walking, this thing has movement. I hear it from all the ladies that wear it. They say people are commenting them throughout any party they're going to. Certainly the rodeos, you sort of sashay, and not a lot of companies are making skirts like that anymore. So we do in each collection, we have about 3 to 4 sets. So we'll do a knit top with incredible embroidery. Most of our things you can wear on or off the shoulder, because the comment is the last thing to go on a woman is her shoulders. So she loves to show them off. It's a bit of demure sexiness. So you can be 80 and still show a little bit of your shoulder and feel really special. But then we put a skirt back to it with the same embroidery as on the tops. And with a conch belt, like you said, in the middle of it, it rocks. It's just, We're a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll, and a lot of class, like you said.
Yes,
Thank you very
very
much.
classy. Yes.
Yeah.
And you describe it so well. You make it sound so romantic, and I'm looking at the pictures and they're just popping off, at me, all these different outfit ideas, but that's exactly what you're going for here, and you have something for everybody, and that's very unique and very special all at the same time, very beautiful.
Thank you. We added a new collection on for this coming spring because the world's turned a little more casual lately. They're not going out to so many places.
Very
They
true.
love our embroidery. So we added a knit collection, and it's called Vintage 2.
Uh-huh.
And it's embroidered knits they're not T-shirts. They're just beautiful knit tops, a little bit of fit and flair on it, so it's really becoming, and it's for young and old. You could wear it with jeans and go meet your friends for lunch, and you don't feel so dressed up. So you still get the beautiful embroidery, but something a little more casual.
Sure.
And that's a new addition to the vintage collection, which I'm excited about. I was just in Dallas, and I showed the line, and I have to say, even through all the struggles that the country is going through right now, we had an absolutely phenomenal show. I have a huge showroom in Dallas that I show the clothes on, and we just had a great show. Not a lot of people, but a lot of big people came and wrote big orders, looking forward to the spring season that's coming up because it's bright colors. And you can't see it on the web, but in 2 weeks it'll be up on the web for you to see.
Uh-huh.
And, in the WESA show, I'm just going to tell everyone that's listening to the show, and I hope the Western world is all listening to it.
Yes.
We're in a showroom on the 15th floor in the Dallas market for the WESA show. And it's showroom 15727, the Brad Hughes showroom. Normally during a regular apparel market, there are about 25 collections in there, from couture to rock and roll. And I've been in that showroom in Dallas for 19 years. And we have a beautiful following, and I hope everybody that's coming into WESA will be coming up. We're going to be participating in the fashion show on the 14th floor. And we're always around to help anyone get their outfit together wherever they're going. We sell weddings. A lot of brides we do a skirt called a mermaid skirt. If you saw it in the pictures, I think it's 24 layers of hand-cut ruffles, and it fits like a mermaid will. It sort of curves on your tushy and then does a sort of mermaid at the bottom.
Yes.
And it goes from an extra small up to an XXL.
Change the topic just a bit. I mean,
Sure.
all of the great creativity, all of the everything, if you're in a business, doesn't mean much until you actually sell something. So I think we ought to chat a bit about your distribution. I know you distribute, you sell through a lot of retailers. You also sell through online websites, but yours is not a selling website. If someone goes there, if Casey goes there, she can't actually buy that direct. As I understand it, you are actually still supporting the retailers that carry your clothes and the websites who market online that are also carrying your products. Is that right?
Absolutely, because I think it's an insult for me to want to sell a little store that is every piece they buy is important, and I'm also selling it direct to the customer. It's not fair. So as an old-fashioned company, we respect the retailer, and we really bend over backwards to give them great service and exclusivity in having to buy our clothing. But what's great of our website, if they have a customer, not every store can buy every piece. My collection has about 75 to 100 pieces in it. One store is not buying every single piece. So if you have a good customer that loves vintage collection, as a retailer, you can tell them to look on our website. And if they love something, they can call the store and say, "Can you get this for me?" And the store can call us. But we do not sell directly to the consumer.
Okay, and I think that's an important thing to know because obviously you need to sell them as many places as you can, but we appreciate the fact that you're not selling against against your retailers.
Right.
One question, I want to go back a little earlier in the commentary. When the four of you started this business, did you have the Western market in mind, or was this something that surprised you?
It surprised us. I mean, we show in Dallas, we show in Denver, so we're still in showrooms like that. And before we did this, we actually had an embroidered jacket company. We've always embroidered. And some of the Western stores picked it up. So in the showroom, a store would come in and they would see it and they would love it. And certainly in Dallas, and the word got out. I mean, this was almost a word of mouth kind of awakening to people saying, my God, where did you get that? So we really started designing with the Southwestern Western ladies in mind, as well as the country. We're not just exclusive in the West. You could still wear one of our tunics on a vacation in Florida with a pair of flip-flops. But it really picked up in the genre of the West. The rodeo people loved them. We started to do the fashion show at the NFRs when the girls were all crowned. And then I'm proud to say that anything that they wore, we were able to sell them because we couldn't give it away for free for like a small amount of money, like $10, just so they would have what they wore in the show, which was great.
Well, we're glad that you
I'm honored.
The Western market. We really are, because this makes a fun interview for us. You'd mentioned WESA, but you had told me when we spoke earlier that WESA's been an important cog in your wheel, if I can use that analogy. You might talk about that a second.
It was huge. It still is huge. I'm excited about what they're going to do in Dallas. Dallas is such a different kind of market. I am going to miss the old Denver Mart. As it is, I still, that's still our base there. And let's see what happens in Dallas. Dallas is much fancier. It's got more layers of floors, where in Denver you only had 4 floors, and it was each allocated for what you were going to buy. Furniture was one, better goods was another. Then they had the big open venue. Here they're trying to replicate it. So it's just a matter of time to see how it all works together. And if you've got to get the customer knowledgeable to how they can shop in the Dallas market, it's so different. But WESA actually opens up the door to not only American people, European people, Mexican people, Venezuela, Argentina. They come from Alaska. They come from Sweden, England, Spain, Japan. It's amazing. Norway. I mean, as we think the West, we think our cowboys and, good old Roy Rogers and Calamity Jane and the wonderful legends that are in the Western world. There are other countries that fell in love with it and want that kind of look as well. And horses is still important to them. So WESA attracts an international brand of people that you don't get anywhere else that I know of in sales.
Yeah, we're sure glad you like WESA, especially since this is the Wisdom by WESA show. Listen, Stacy, I had a good time talking with you the other day. I've had an equally, I think Casey has as well, a good time talking to you today. And we do appreciate you taking the time to talk all about your New York-based company and how you have captured that Western market. I think it's a tribute to your ingenuity, your product design, your quality, and your sales strategy.
Thank you. I'll take all those compliments for the company and share it with the girls, because we all are really proud and work really hard for what we do. I mean, some days we put in, 7 days a week in it. We're a small company. We want to stay that way. We have hands-on in everything we do, from sales to invoicing to packing. We all have a hand in helping.
Well, I'm glad you do, and I'm glad you spent the time with us. Casey, any final comments?
Just make sure and visit Stacy with Vintage Collection on the 15th floor, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said room 15727.
Right, at the Brad Jew showroom, and I look forward to seeing everybody. And you know what? I'm always here to help.
Okay, thanks a lot,
pleasure.
Stacy.
Okay, you take care, both of you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a beautiful, safe day.
Show notes and links for today's show can be found at the website wisdombywesa.com. And of course, we'd love to hear your feedback if you have some. There's a contact link on that website.
The Wisdom by WESA show will be published on the 15th and 30th of every month. You can listen on most of your favorite podcast players, and you can also listen on the Horse Radio Network app on your iOS or Android phone. You just search Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and it's super easy to use. Be sure to visit all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Thanks for listening to the Wisdom by WESA podcast. WESA, where the industry meets.